The ordinary alien worker removed her hoodie and shattered his world. The cargo bay of Station K-47 was always busy. Heavy crates floated in the low gravity, moving between loading zones on magnetic lifts. The air smelled of machine oil and metal dust. Humans, aliens, and robots worked side by side, shouting orders over the hum of engines. Among them was a small figure in a faded gray hoodie. She kept her head low, her hands moving quickly as she checked container locks. To everyone, she was just another worker, quiet, efficient, forgettable. No one knew her name. Some thought she was shy, others thought she was just unfriendly, but Daniel noticed her. Daniel was a human engineer on the station, fixing engines and repairing faulty systems. He had seen thousands of workers come and go, but there was something different about her. It wasn't her speed, though she was faster than most. It wasn't her strength, though she could lift heavy crates without help. It was the way she avoided cameras, the way she never spoke unless spoken to, and the way she always wore that hood, even when it was hot in the cargo bay. One day, during the evening shift, the lights flickered, the intercom crackled with static. A power surge hit the station, plunging the cargo bay into shadows. Workers groaned, waiting for emergency lights to kick in. Daniel grabbed his tool bag and headed to the nearest panel. That's when he saw her. The hooded alien was kneeling near a supply crate. Something had fallen from her pocket and rolled across the floor. It was a small, metallic sphere, glowing with a faint blue light. Daniel bent down and picked it up, feeling a strange warmth in his palm. It wasn't like any tool he had seen before. The sphere hummed softly, its surface shifting like liquid metal. She froze when she saw him holding it. Her head lifted slightly, and in the dim light, Daniel saw a pair of eyes that seemed to glow faintly, not in the way some aliens had natural shines. This was deeper, sharper, like light trapped under glass. She stood quickly and stepped toward him, her voice low and urgent. "Give it back," she said. It wasn't a request, it was a warning. Daniel hesitated. "What is this?" he asked. Her gaze darted to the security cameras above, which were still offline due to the power surge. Then, without another word, she pulled back her hood, just enough for him to see the side of her face. Daniel's breath caught. Her skin shimmered with faint golden lines, moving like streams of light under the surface. He had seen this before, but only in history archives. It was a royal genetic mark, unique to the Zarin bloodline. A bloodline thought to be extinct. Before Daniel could react, the station alarms blared. A metallic voice echoed through the bay. "Attention, all personnel, lockdown in progress, searching for target Sector 7." Guards rushed in, scanning workers with portable scanners. She stepped back quickly, her hood falling over her face again. "Run," she whispered, and before Daniel could even think, she was gone, slipping between crates and disappearing into the chaos. The guards didn't notice Daniel holding the sphere. His mind raced. Why would a royal heir be working in a cargo bay, hiding under a hoodie? And why was the station suddenly searching for someone in this area? He closed his hand around the sphere, feeling the hum grow stronger. Part of him wanted to forget this, to go back to fixing engines and keeping his head down. But something told him his life had just changed. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The image of her glowing skin and sharp eyes burned in his mind. He replayed the moment over and over. She had looked at him with a mix of fear and warning, like she knew danger was already close. He had a feeling she hadn't just told him to run for his safety. She had told him to run because something was coming for both of them. And deep down, Daniel knew one thing for certain. Whatever secret she carried, it was big enough to shatter everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. And he had just stepped right into it. The station was restless that night. Alarms still echoing faintly in the distant halls. Crew members whispering rumors in every corner. Daniel kept walking, pretending to be calm, but the sphere in his pocket pulsed like a hidden heartbeat. Every step making him more aware that it was there. He couldn't explain why he hadn't turned it into security. He just knew the moment he did, he would never see her again. He turned into the empty service corridor near the maintenance deck. The hum of machinery was louder here. Masking quiet footsteps behind him, Daniel stopped, his hand brushing the handle of his plasma wrench. A shadow moved near the pipes, and then she stepped out, still wearing the hoodie, but with her breathing heavy. Her eyes darted left and right, before locking onto him. "You followed me," Daniel said quietly. She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out her hand. "Give it back." Her voice was sharper now. Daniel hesitated. "Tell me what it is first," he said. She shook her head. "If I tell you, you will be hunted like me." The sphere in his pocket seemed warmer, almost alive. Daniel glanced around. "Too late for that," he whispered. A sound came from the far end of the corridor, boots, heavy and fast. She stepped closer, and for the first time, pulled the hood all the way down. Daniel froze. The dim maintenance lights reflected off her skin, patterns of gold and deep blue, swirling under the surface like living art. Her hair wasn't hair at all, but fine strands of luminous fiber, shifting gently like it was underwater. Her eyes burned with a light so intense he couldn't look for long. Daniel began, but she cut him off. "There's no time," she said. "They will scan this section in seconds." He wanted to ask 1,000 questions, how she ended up here, why she was hiding, why the entire station seemed to be after her bet. Then the boots grew louder. Without warning, she grabbed his wrist, her skin warm, her grip strong enough to make him stumble forward. "Follow me if you want to live," she hissed, dragging him into a narrow hatch in the wall. They slipped inside, metal clanging softly behind them as the hatch closed. Through the narrow vent slits, Daniel saw armed security storm past, their scanners glowing red. One of them paused right in front of the hatch. Daniel held his breath. The guard scanned the area, but didn't notice the concealed panel hiding them. When they moved on, Daniel let out a shaky exhale. She was watching him closely. "You shouldn't be here," she murmured. "Now you're part of it." Daniel almost laughed. "Part of what?" he asked. She looked away, her jaw tight. "Part of the reason people will kill without hesitation." Daniel didn't know it yet, but this was the moment his ordinary life ended, and the first step into a truth so dangerous it could burn entire worlds. Daniel thought he would wake up and realize it had all been a strange dream, but the moment he opened his eyes in his small cabin, the metallic sphere sat on the table, pulsing faintly, like it was breathing. He stared at it for a long time, wondering if touching it again would somehow summon her, wondering if she was even still alive. The station outside his cabin door was unusually tense. Patrol drones hovering in pairs, guards scanning crew members at random, announcements repeating, warnings about an unauthorized entity. Daniel kept his head down, avoiding eye contact, but every so often, he caught fragments of conversation about bounty hunters, about a royal fugitive, about someone who could end the war in a single day. Late in the cycle, as he was repairing a coolant line in the engine room, he heard a faint scrape behind the storage crates. He moved slowly toward the sound, plasma wrench in hand, and there she was, crouched low, clutching her side, her hoodie torn and dark with blood, her face pale beneath the golden markings. "You're hurt," Daniel said, dropping his tool. She tried to stand, but stumbled. "It's nothing," she muttered, but her voice shook. He stepped closer, offering his arm. She resisted at first, then let him guide her to a hidden corner. He reached for the medkit on the wall. As he cleaned the wound, she winced but stayed silent, her eyes fixed on the sphere now resting on the workbench. "You kept it," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "Didn't seem like something I should hand over." Her gaze softened for a moment, then hardened again. "That thing could save me, or it could destroy both of us." He wanted to press her for answers, but footsteps echoed down the hall, heavy, deliberate, getting closer. She looked up at him, her voice a whisper. "If they find me here, they'll kill you too." Daniel glanced at the half-closed door, then back at her. "Then I guess we better make sure they don't find you," he said. already reaching for the hidden maintenance hatch behind the engine coils. Somewhere deep inside, he knew there was no turning back now. The maintenance hatch led them into the forgotten veins of the station. Narrow crawlways coated in dust and old wiring. The hum of the main reactors thrummed through the metal, masking their movements. Daniel moved first, flashlight in one hand, the sphere clutched in the other. She followed close, her breathing shallow but steady. They emerged into an unused storage bay. The air-stale crates stacked high like silent walls. Daniel sealed the hatch behind them. "We can rest here for a bit," he said. She stayed standing, watching him as if weighing a decision. Finally, she reached up, gripped the edge of her hood, and pulled it all the way down. For the first time Daniel saw her fully. The golden patterns on her skin weren't random. They formed intricate shapes, symbols that shifted slowly, as though alive. Her hair glowed faintly, each strand moving with the air currents. Her eyes deep, burning amber held both exhaustion and something far heavier. "I suppose you've guessed," she said, her voice low, but even. "You're not a dock worker," Daniel replied. She gave a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes. "No, I am the last living heir to the Empire," she continued. "At least, the last one who isn't already a puppet." Daniel had heard the stories. Zoran royalty were wiped out in a coup years ago. The survivors either executed or controlled by neural implants. If she was telling the truth, she was one of the most wanted beings in the galaxy. "I ran," she said simply. "If they take me, they will use me to unite the fleets under their control. And millions will die in the next war." Daniel glanced at the sphere. "And this?" he asked. She stepped closer, her eyes fixed on his. "That is the only proof I'm still free." Daniel didn't know why, but in that moment, he realized helping her wasn't just survival anymore. It was a choice, a dangerous, irreversible choice, and he had already made it the moment he didn't give her away. The station felt smaller now, every hallway a possible trap, every passing face a potential threat. Daniel kept her close, both of them wearing grease-stained maintenance coveralls to blend in. The sphere was hidden inside his tool pack, its faint hum masked by the rattle of loose bolts. Security checkpoints had multiplied overnight, scanners sweeping every corridor. Daniel guided her through service tunnels and ventilation shafts, his knowledge of the station's underbelly their only advantage. At one junction, a patrol drone hovered so close he could hear the faint whine of its optics. She held her breath, her golden markings dimming, as if she could will them invisible. Only when the drone drifted away did they move again. They reached a cramped repair bay where an old service droid lay half disassembled. Daniel pretended to work, hands moving over metal plates, while she stayed in the shadows. "How long can we keep this up?" she asked quietly. "Until I figure out a way to get you off this station," he replied without looking up. Her voice was sharper now. "You don't understand, they won't stop. Not until they have me, alive or dead." Daniel met her gaze. "Then we make sure it's neither." She studied him for a moment, as if trying to read his intentions, then gave the faintest nod. That night, they slipped into the cargo lifts, heading toward the lower hangars, their plan simple: steal a transport and vanish into the shipping lanes. But as the lift doors opened, two guards were already waiting, their eyes narrowing. One of them raised a scanner, and the air between them tightened like a wire about to snap. The guard's scanner began to hum, a thin red beam sweeping toward them. Daniel's mind raced. There was no way her disguise would hold under a biometric sweep. Without thinking, he dropped his tool pack, letting bolts scatter across the deck. The noise made both guards flinch, and in that heartbeat, he grabbed her arm and pulled her down the maintenance ladder beside the lift. Shouts echoed above as they descended into the dim underhang of the hangar, the smell of fuel and hot metal filling the air. Below them, cargo pods floated in magnetic cradles, engines ticking softly as they cooled. Daniel spotted a small shuttle, with its hatch open, a lone mechanic inside. They hit the deck running, The mechanic barely had time to turn before Daniel shoved a spanner into his hands and said, "Engine leak, Bay 7. The man frowned but moved off, muttering. Daniel didn't waste a second. He waved her inside and sealed the hatch. The shuttle's console flickered to life under his hands, systems whining as they powered up. Footsteps pounded on the metal outside, then the thud of fists on the hull. Unauthorized departure detected. The automated voice began to blare. She strapped herself in beside him, her golden markings bright now, no longer hidden. "They'll shoot us down," she said. Daniel glanced at her, a grin tugging at his mouth, despite the danger. "Then we better make them miss." His hands danced over the controls. Engines roared, and the shuttle ripped free. From its cradle, diving into the black, station lights spinning away behind them as blaster fire chased their wake. The stars stretched around them in streaks of silver as the shuttle punched into hyperspace. The sudden silence felt almost unreal after the chaos. Daniel's hands stayed on the controls, knuckles white, half expecting another alarm to go off. Beside him, she was staring straight ahead, her breathing slowly evening out, for the first time since they'd met. There was no hood, no shadow hiding her. The golden patterns across her skin pulsed in a slow rhythm, like the calm heartbeat of someone who had finally stopped running for a moment. Daniel almost forgot she was the most wanted person in the galaxy. "You know this changes everything," she said quietly, her gaze still fixed on the streaking stars. "For you, for me, for your people, for mine." Daniel gave a short laugh. "Pretty sure it already has." She turned to him then, her eyes locking on his. A faint spark of something new in them, trust. Maybe even something more. "I can't promise you safety," she admitted. "But I can promise you purpose." Daniel leaned back, letting the shuttle drift on autopilot. "Guess I wasn't looking for safety anyway." Her lips curved into the smallest smile, and she reached over, placing her hand over his on the console, the golden light from her markings spilling across his fingers. "Then we stand together," she said. And in that moment, it wasn't a human and a fugitive royal, was two people who had decided the galaxy would have to deal with them on their terms. Far ahead, the hyperspace tunnel rippled, stars waiting beyond, a future unwritten and dangerous, and neither of them planned to face it alone.